Hi, everyone. This is Joe Velarde from the CIAC. I'm with Mike Huffman, our swimming rules interpreter. And so I have a few CIAC notes before we get to Mike and the rules updates for swimming for 2026. So the first thing is that diving proof sheets will no longer be faxed or emailed to the CIAC. So your diving proof sheets will be emailed directly to Mike, and all the information is in the swim packet. Also, I would strongly recommend that you go through the swim packet because there's several minor changes, but a couple major ones I'm going to highlight here. But make sure you read your swim packet. We'll have two deadlines for entries. So the entry date will be that Monday, same day, but all the original entries will be due by 12 o'clock noon, not 4 o'clock as in the past. And after you enter your entries, you'll have 4 hours till 4 o'clock to make any corrections. So your entries are due by 12 o'clock noon. You'll get a confirming email, and then you'll have until 4 o'clock to make any corrections or changes. Also, you're probably aware of the change in rule allowing backstroke ledges, but here in Connecticut, backstroke ledges will not be allowed this year and will be allowed beginning in 2026. The backstroke ledges are not allowed for 2025. The final thing I want to note is that our Open Championship will be on that Sunday at Yale. Yale had a conflict on that Saturday, an Ivy League conflict, and they couldn't host us. So the Open will be on Sunday, not Saturday this year. If you have any questions about the CIAC stuff, you can email me or have your athletic director email me. If you have any rules questions, you could email Mike, and both our emails will be in the swim packet. So now I'll turn it over to Mike when you're ready, Mike, to go through the rule changes for this upcoming season.
Okay. Okay, I believe I got the screen shared right now.
Yep, you're good to go.
Okay. So welcome to the rules PowerPoint from the NFHS for 2025-2026. There are just a couple of rule changes, and then there are some editorial changes that we'll go over. There's also a little bit of NFHS information for coaches that they put into this PowerPoint, so we'll go over that kind of quickly. So our first couple of slides will be NFHS information that are in this PowerPoint. The first one, just so you'll know, this is the Swimming and Diving Rules Committee from the National Federation, made up of this dozen or so people. So if you need to see who they are, just look right on the first slide here, and that's where they are. Next, they have a new publications platform called NFHS Digital that contains rule books, case books, officials manuals, other publications, that kind of thing. You see the website there if you wanted to go to it, nhs.org/NFHS Digital. It is an app that you join. I believe it's $35 to join. But there is also, if you want to make use of this, there's also a mobile app you can download on your phone and go through it right there. Yeah, the individual participation, if you want to join as a coach, it's $35. They have a school and group participation program. I don't know what the total would be. It says the application form is $35. Not being a coach, I didn't go over there and look. But if you wanted to do something like that, you could go over to this new app and take a look and see what it says. And for joining this is a list of benefits that you get. I don't know if it's the complete list, but it's the ones they highlighted by joining. And some of them are pretty good. You get digital rule books. You can put them on your phone. You don't have to carry the rule book around. You get your access to insurance coverage. One that I thought was kind of interesting was you get rental car discounts through National and Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and discounts if you wanted to buy championship rings for your kids on your team. And so they let this slide in from last year as well, and it has to do with accommodations for athletes if you have special need athletes or things like that, and the process that you have to go through to make sure that you can get that accommodation and use it for the athletes. You submit the request to the CIAC. They will go through the request to make sure to see if it's okay or not. And then if it's approved, you will get written approval, and you just bring that with you to the meets and use that for the whatever accommodation you need for your athletes. And there are all kinds of different ones, and they don't probably have them all listed, but if you have something that you think would be considered an accommodation, then just go through this process, and that's the best way to do it. And a lot of them are for blind and visually impaired athletes, and also deaf and hard of hearing athletes. These are just kind of examples that they threw in here. Some of them do not need written approval, and there'll be a few we'll go through up. I think they're on the next slide. But if it's not listed as you don't need approval, I would submit it to the CIAC. The suit modifications, pretty much any suit modification will need a written accommodation approval, with the exception of full body suit that is being used for religious reasons. If you do have a question about it, just cover yourself and submit the request. And if it is for religious reasons, it will most likely be approved. But if you don't have to do that, if it's truly a religious reason and you're on board with that, you don't need to request an approval. Some of the modifications that do require state approval, additional attire other than a suit or one suit, for body support, modesty, anything not religious in nature, you need to get approval from. Disabled swimmer devices, blind swimmers will require, if you've ever seen them, they will require a tapper to tap them on the shoulder with a fairly long pole to let them know when they're approaching the wall for either the finish or the turn. Things like that, you need to get an approval. Missing limb, an artificial device to replace that, and tape of any kind is permitted, but you must have a letter from a certified medical professional that will give you whatever the need is. It would be helpful if they put also in there just a statement that says this will not improve their performance in any way. And certified medical professionals or doctors, trainers are in that list. And the only thing, I'll take it from another organization, the only thing that they don't take it from is a massage therapist. They're not considered certified medical professionals. Okay, these are the rule changes. The first one is from the beginning of the book when they talk about the pool and the equipment. Currently, up till this year, you could not waive these certain requirements with prior mutual consent between the coaches and have a meet. If these requirements are not met, then the referee will not allow the meet to run. And it's water depth, starting platform height. You see the list there. And what they had to add here now is backstroke ledge specifications. So this ledge specifications cannot be altered if that comes up next year with our events. The backstroke ledges As Joe said, it's a new thing for high school swimming. Will not be used in 2025 season, but will come in 2026. And there are a number of requirements when we do get to them, and this is one reason that we have to stop and take a look at this whole process, because there are a lot of things here that we have to address. First being, if you're going to use a backstroke ledge, you must have 6-foot water depth on the start end from the wall to 5 meters out. It must be at least 6 feet for that entire distance. The ledge itself has a number of specifications in size and depth, and there are pretty much 3 types of ledges that are created or are sold by multiple organizations, but there are basically just 3 different types. The manufacturer of them, they pretty much all meet the requirements of the ledge for length, depth, size, and that kind of thing, because they've been selling them to other people for a number of years in other organizations. So the size of the ledge, and this one is kind of important. When you put the ledge in the water, it can only be 4 centimeters above or below the water level when you use it, when the athlete uses it. And that's about a little over 1.5 inches. And they are adjustable. Every type is adjustable, but they are adjustable by different methods. And so these are the list kind of all of the requirements for each ledge. Water depth, distance in the water, length of the ledge, height of the ledge, width of the ledge, and the adjustable settings for them when they're in the water. So the ledges, when in use, and this is true of every other organization, the ledges have these requirements at the facility. The host facility has the option of making them available or not. So they can put them in the water. If they want to put them in, they don't have to put them in and make them available to anybody. It's just a host facility choice. The ledges all have to be the same. And the use of the ledge by individual swimmers is optional. And that's a very common thing. You go to meets all over the place. You have a 12-lane pool, and you might have 8 or 9 kids using the ledge. The other ones don't want to use the ledge. That's the option by each individual swimmer. And the athlete is responsible for setting the ledge properly at the height. So there's 3 different types. They put in a little picture here of 2 of the types. The one on the right, that is a Finnis ledge. It's the cheapest and probably most or least reliable of all the wedges. It has a couple of straps. You hook them behind the block. If you were to have a starting block with a single pole support, these can tend to slip around them every once in a while. You really got to get them strapped in. The ledge on the left, that's basically what the Murtha ledges look like. And they are probably the second least expensive model. And they are designed to be used with Omega starting blocks or Murtha starting blocks. They sit on the top of the block and have requirements for when you're using them during backstroke events. So the backstroke, they have one requirement. Medley relay, they would have a second different requirement. And we'll mention that in a minute. This is what those 2 look like. As you can see, the Omega ledge is on top of that block, and how it sits in there is there are slots that are cut in the side of the Omega blocks, and on the bottom of the ledge there are little clips that go into those slots, push it forward to lock it in, and then most people take the back wedge that's on the back there and push it up to the ledge to lock it in place and keep it there. On the right is the finished ledge that is around a single pole starting block. The finished ledge is very difficult to adjust for an athlete when they're in the water. There are clips that go into holes in the ledge, and it's if you're in the water getting ready to start, you got to remove the clips one at a time. It's kind of a difficult process. Okay, this is the third ledge, a third style of ledge. These are built by Colorado Timing, and they are the most popular. They are the most expensive, but they require no intervention from anybody other than the athlete. When the backstrokers go in the water and they're going to use the ledge, you can see on the right there's a lever there. You pull on that lever, it releases the lock on the ledge. You pull it down with your left hand, put your 2 feet on it, push the lever back. When the start goes off, that ledge automatically snaps back up out of the way of everything. So no intervention is needed by any timers or athletes or anything like that. The other two, if the finish ledge on the right, if you're using it for backstroke or the medley relay, once the start goes off, somebody has to take both of those straps, pull the ledge out of the water and get it into the gutter there, or onto the pool deck, depending upon where the starting block is, so that when the athlete comes in to make a turn or finish the event, the ledge is not there in their way. The last thing we want is to have somebody get their leg caught on a flip turn in the ledge and stop them. The Omega ledge, if it's a backstroke event, the same thing has to happen. Somebody needs to pull the 2 straps up out of the water, get the ledge out of the water onto the deck. If it is a medley relay, the top unit has to come off and the ledge has to come out of the water, because you now have 3 athletes coming behind the backstroker who needs the top of the block for their starts. That's the first rule change. The second is this one, which is really just a bit of a clarification of something that's already in the rule book. Relay deck starts. When you start relays from the deck, the second, third, and fourth swimmer will assume a position at the edge of the pool with 1 foot at the front edge of the deck. The remainder of their body may be in motion prior to the finish of the incoming swimmer, but they must keep that 1 foot in place there. There's no running down the pool deck to get a running start. And that was already in the rule book with a little bit of different wording. And they've thought that this would make it clearer that you can't do a running start. You must start right there at the edge of the pool. Okay. And that's the rule changes for the year, what they consider the rule changes. These are swimming and diving editorial changes. They've taken some words out, changed some words around. Okay. There was that phrase in there that the host team must provide an adequate number of counting devices for the visiting team's lanes, for all the visiting team's lanes. And so that was kind of saying the same thing twice. So they just took out the adequate number of. It now says they must supply the counters for all the visiting team lanes. And that's that one. Okay. Another change that they made that simply matches the definition of the uniform in the swimming and diving rule book with that of all the other sports in the NFHS. They just put these things in a different order and added one. So the suitor cap may display the school name, school nickname, school logo, school mascot, and or the competitor's name. So everything was in there up until this year with the exception of school mascot. So they reordered what could be displayed, and they also added school mascot can be displayed. Okay. Last year, they took out the penalty definition for Rule 333. 333 is the part of the uniform rule definition that details what the coverage of the suit has to be or cannot be. And so that's what 333 is. It details the men's and also the women's, what can cover, what can't be covered. And so they realized they needed to put that penalty back in because what they were trying to do was share one penalty session paragraph with both 333 and 334, but there's a difference in 334. So that penalty is back in, what you can cover with your suit or cannot cover. And then 334 is the part of the rule book that discusses what the suit can be made of and things like the number of suits. So what they did was they put the 333 penalty back in, and then they edited the 334 penalty, which applies to swimmers only, because the 334 penalty details the fact that there is more than one suit cannot be worn, but that's not the case for divers. So they took divers out of 334. So 334 applies to swimmers only. There's the 333 penalties they added back in. The first penalty is how it's handled when it's discovered before the heat of the dive has started, and the second penalty is for when what happens when the heat or dive officially begins, and then you find out that they have an illegal suit on. And a 334 penalty paragraph, all they did was they took out all mentions or replaced all mentions of heat dive, and they just changed that to heat. So that doesn't apply to divers anymore. All right, backstroke finish. They changed this a little bit because last year, of course, they altered the finish of the backstroke, where once you get under the flags, you can now go below the water, kick your way in, and then touch the wall like that. And it used to say the turns, and now it says the turns in the finish. Okay, so these are the 25, 26 swimming and diving points of emphasis that they would like to be focused on during this season. And one is, of course, the backstroke starting ledge education. There is going to be an education process, or actually it already is. The link to it is later on in this PowerPoint. Focusing on what the athletes need to know, the coaches and the officials, as far as what you need to do to get approved that you are good at starting backstrokes in the water. They have a teaching process. Okay. Coaches monitor each stage of the progression of teaching and what to focus on. Skill progression and safety, clearly important. And swimmers are going to have to demonstrate proficiency in executing a backstroke start before using it in competition. That is not uncommon across other organizations. Okay. And that's the link to the Teaching Starts document that they want everybody to check out, particularly coaches and athletes and officials. There are things that we as officials need to do when we are using backstroke ledges, watching to make sure the feet are in the right spot, make sure they're out of the way before they turn or finish, or before the next swimmer in a relay comes in. So that's the link. Diving viability. The National Federation is concerned about the decrease in diving and schools that are actually giving diving, having diving programs. And they would like to press forward on making sure that we are paying attention to diving, trying to get everybody involved that we can. And they're looking for coaches to really just press forward, get everybody involved that they can, talk to people that are running diving programs, club programs, um, athletes they think might be wanting to dive, and try and get the numbers back up. There are, like it says, participation data, and certain states have a pretty good decline in the number of athletes and schools offering diving. Our numbers the last year were down a little bit, but 2 years ago they were down more. So whatever you guys are doing is a good thing. I know there's a lot of diving club programs. There's some new ones up here in the Hartford area. I know Fairfield, of course, has a lot of them. So I just want to make sure that we're doing what we can to keep the diving numbers as best as we can, and to get them up if possible. Okay, NFH Diving Resources. There's a coaching diving course. There's a course out there for officials called Judging Springboard Diving. I've taken that. Other things like diving silhouettes, those are in the rule book. The tables is in the rule book as well, but there's also one, I think, on Learn, NFHS Learn, that has video clips, and we go through. We have some on our officials test, but anybody can go out there and look at those video clips and score them. And I believe they still have that they paused, and then they will give you what the actual scores from the judges were. Not quite sure what that is. I couldn't figure out if it's just a diver that everybody wants to have based on the entry, or if it's a 17-foot tall guy doing a handstand. But so this is the NFHS Learning Center. Says 25 million courses delivered. They don't have 25 million courses, but over the 100+ courses that they do have, they've had over 25 million people take those courses. Over 70 of them are free. I don't know which ones are and which ones aren't. But there's coaches out there for everybody to take. Coaches, students, administrators, parents, officials. There's performing arts courses out there for band and those kinds of things. And that's nfhslearn.com. And this is a number of the courses that they have. A lot of them are health related and behavioral related. Concussions, heat illness, cardiac arrest, those kinds of things. Important: bullying, hazing, and inappropriate behaviors, mental health, preventing students from abuse. Those are all very important courses. All right. Coaching swimming. was one of the courses developed by the NFHS and NISCA. It's out there for the coaches to have. I don't know if it's free or not. I think it is. You have objectives here, number of units. And then we come to the NFHS network, which is where you, of course, see all of your events online. You can watch them again. I like it. It's a lot of fun for me to watch some of this stuff. So they've got events for 27 different sports and activities. Our swimming events are out there. I go back and watch the Open pretty much every year after I get back. By 2028, every high school event in America will be streamed live. That's a pretty courageous thing. And that is, I know there's a discount for officials to join that. I'm assuming there's probably one for coaches as well. Okay, 25, 26 swimming and diving resources. Rule book is out. I've got one here. You can get that. You can get diving score sheets. Most everybody, schools I get them from, they have their own. You can order that stuff at nfhs.com or by phone. I don't know what else is out there that you can order. So yeah, the rules book, the diving official manual is available. I know that because I've got one. Okay, on Learn, we've got coaching swimming, coaching diving, officiating swimming and diving. I mentioned the judging springboard diving before, and the make the call diving videos. And those videos are actually in our test for the officials committee. And that's about it. So if you have any questions about anything that are rules or officials related, feel free to email me. It's mhuffman99@gmail.com. And like Joe indicated, as to the diving proof sheets, you will email them to that same email address. Make sure your diving coaches know this. And I will respond to each one, letting you know if it's okay or not. And not is not very common at all, but I will email them that they're okay. Feel free to email those anytime during the season. If you're at your day one of when you can actually have a meet and you have a meet on that day and your diver qualifies, email it to me then. That's fine. The more that I get early, the faster it goes. I get through the process of making sure they're all okay. And also, if you're gonna email them, make sure it's big enough so I can read it. And I think that's about it.
Thank you very much, Mike. And to everyone out there, have a great 2026 swimming and diving season. Thank you.